This is me crashing out because I'm like, yo, they really got me for my passport. This is crazy, bro. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Jasmine, JazzyJetsets. I know it has been a while and you're probably thinking, no girl, welcome back to you. Welcome back yourself. And you're right. Happy New Year. I miss you. We have a lot to catch up on. But for now, let's get into this trip to Brazil because it was chaotic. So I'm headed to Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. I'm leaving from New York and I will have a connecting flight in Sao Paulo. So the total flight is like 20 something hours. So of course I wanted to start the day off with some yoga to, get my body right, my mind right. I thought that I was starting this trip off on a good note. So I leave New York. I get to Sao Paulo. Tell me why. They stole my passport, y'all. They got me for my passport. I'm sorry, I got a little triggered just talking about it, but I still ended up going to my final destination, which was Salvador. And yeah, let's get into that first. So if you've been following me for a while, you've probably seen the Ghana footage or content from earlier this year in April. And this Brazil trip is basically the same programming. So we decided to go to Salvador de Bahia, Brazil. I think over 80% of the population is Afro-Brazilian. And of course, that's a result of the transatlantic slave trade. So we were just really excited to be here. And yeah, we'll get into more of the culture and history in a bit. But this is what I actually did to start off the trip. After my passport getting stolen, like the girls were like, hey, we found this spot. Let's go have fun. This is our only day to just kind of hang out and do nothing before work gets hectic this week. You know what? Let me do that because this trip is already starting off crazy. Okay, so here's the stolen passport tea. I'm gonna try to talk as fast as I can for this one. So I fly from New York to Sao Paulo and then Sao Paulo to Bahia. In Sao Paulo is where my passport was stolen. It was stolen by one of the employees of the airline. I flew with Delta and they were operated through LATAM. And I ended up missing the connecting flight because I had to uncheck my bag and recheck it. The airport was quite busy. It was insane. It was a madhouse. So I recheck my bag, but by the time I get to the gate and stuff, I'm too late. Cool. So I go downstairs to LATAM to have them like reassign me a new flight and check in my bags. The guy takes my bags. He gives me a new ticket, but he doesn't give me my passport. Usually they will give you like your passport and your ticket in the same stack. He doesn't give it back to me. I'm so flustered from missing the flight that I'm not even paying attention. I just kind of slide it into my bag. I leave and I'm just upstairs like walking around. I don't stop or do anything. 10 minutes later, I go back down there to say, hey, like I can't find my passport. Of course I get back down there. He's nowhere to be found. Mind you, it's like 7:30 a.m. He's nowhere to be found. His co-workers, which are all women, they're like, at first they act like they don't understand any of the words that I'm saying. And they're like, no English, no English. And then after like 10 minutes of me kind of being like, no, like you guys need to find him. You need to call him. They start like getting on the phones. They end up like pointing at their phone and he said he don't have it. I'm like, I thought you said that you couldn't get in touch with him. I said, is he off of work? Like, it was quite early in the morning, so I didn't think shift changes happening. Guys, when I tell y'all, that man was nowhere to be found. And I keep asking his coworkers, like, did he leave? Is his shift over? And they're just all like, I don't know. We can't find him. We can't find him. So I did a little research. I spoke to some people who travel a lot. I spoke to people from different countries. I also spoke to a lot of Brazilians. And they were like, yeah, baby, they got you. This is a very common thing. And I'm thinking like, oh, will they like manipulate my passport to use it to get into other places? They don't need to manipulate it. They'll find someone who looks like you. And yeah, that's being sold. And I had to go to the police station. I had to file a police report. And then they were like, we'll let you go to Bahia, but by the time you get there, you're going to have to go to the embassy. You have to get a new passport in order for them to let you back in America. If you don't, you won't be able to get back in. So can you imagine? I'm on this hectic work trip for 5 days. And now I have to go to the American embassy in Brazil and like apply for a new passport and pray that I get a new passport by Saturday. Because of course it's Monday and it's Labor Day in America, so there's really nothing that we can do. So I really figured just focus on work. You'll figure it out tomorrow. So day one programming, this is breakfast time. So we had some little friends here playing with us. And after breakfast, we spent the entire morning and afternoon doing workshop, listening to coaches, and afterwards, of course, we will be doing the excursions and the exploration. And today, day one, the first excursion that we're going to be doing is a spirituality tour. So we're going to be learning about Candomblé, which is the Afro-Brazilian religion that is influenced by Yoruba, Bantu, and Dahomey culture. So on this tour, we were going to learn, of course, about the historical context of the religion, but then also maybe get the opportunity to visit some of the spiritual houses.
I stay with my eyes open to help coaches. Sometimes we Africans have the opportunity to have meetings. I'm sorry for my English, right?
Oh, natural, okay.
Água natural. Different houses, because in each house has the foundation of each orisha. Right?
So as part of this tour, we were also supposed to be able to visit a few of the Orisha houses, and maybe like go inside. If some people wanted to receive a blessing, they could. We had to wear all white, of course. Where we're visiting now, this location, they did not let us into the spiritual house, which makes sense. But we went to a second one and it was so dope. Like, they welcomed us with drums, they did a prayer. The interesting thing about this trip is that basically only one person in our group speaks Portuguese, and so a lot of the guides and waiters, like, we would have to wear like an earpiece because we had a translator with us at all times, so she would translate into English what the person who was speaking in Portuguese was saying. And this was basically the entire trip, when it came to like the panels, when it came to ordering food, when it came to doing some of the excursions. Another thing I was fascinated by was seeing the West African food influence here. Like, it was very, for me, it just was like, wow, these people really came and brought their food here and their recipes here, and it's still here today. Okay, so day two, of course, starting off strong, doing some yoga. Again, this is probably the last time y'all gonna see me doing any exercise in the morning, because you know, once things start getting hectic, I start throwing everything away. Today's Tuesday. I know I need to get ready for work, but also I need to take my behind to the embassy and apply for this passport. It's time to get things in gear. I was told that basically, like, I can apply for an emergency passport. You can get it in a few days. You can fly home with it. This is me crashing out because I'm like, yo, they really got me for my passport. This is crazy, bro. And honestly, it's not even about getting back to America. I honestly don't even want to go. But it's more about just like, that was my second passport that I was going to be finishing. I only started traveling my junior year in college and university. So travel is something that I've had to create for myself, and I was really proud of it. And my passport is like one of my prized possessions. So I have my first one that I finished. This was about to be my second one that I finished. And so, yeah, it just kind of hurt a little bit, as snobby and ridiculous as that might sound. So I end up like having my police report, my flight information. Luckily for me, I was just carrying my New Jersey driver's license, so I had some sort of identification on me. They directed me up the street, like, just walk up the street real quick. You can take your picture there, do everything that you need to do. Of course, I didn't understand anything that anyone was saying, and vice versa. But I asked this woman, I was using Google Translate, like, y'all have no idea. But she like took my hand, she walked me all the way to the actual like photo shop. I had to wait a little bit, but then they gave me my photos, which was great. And then I walked back, of course, to the embassy. Of course, I had to take out money because this was going to cost me about like 160 US dollars. But basically, you pay for the emergency passport at the embassy where you're applying out of country. And then when you get back to the US, you apply for a permanent passport, which it's not a real application. It's just like the document and the passport that you need to send in. And then when you apply for your permanent passport, you don't have to pay a fee or anything because you've already paid it at the embassy outside of the country. So yeah, I did everything that I needed to do here. I applied. The guy at the desk told me, like, hopefully, you know, you'll have it by Saturday. That feels like enough time. They know that they have your flight information, so you should be fine. Then it was time for us to head out and do some more excursions. And what we did today was the Historic Center of Salvador. And here we're learning about the Baianas women. They were descendants of slaves, and they were basically unpaid domestic workers for Brazilian families. And they were known for wearing these big puffy dresses, and you can also see it here. And we're at the Historic Center, but the activity for today is a walk. So basically we're going to be doing like a Black History walk. It's called the Black Heritage Tour. They bring us to Zumbi dos Palmares, and he was a Nigerian enslaved man who led a lot of revolts and uprisings. And when I say he was giving the Portuguese hell, he gave them hell. So you know what? Long live Zumbi. This also was, I think, historically the hospital, and then I believe this was a hotel. And basically this like open court or center, if slaves like did something bad or wrong, they would basically be punished in this like open courtyard for everyone to see. And then with that hospital like on the side there, they would be taken there and they would be experimented on. Just wild shit that we already know. And of course there's more in the Historic Center. One of the very interesting things that we learned about beyond slavery, of course, is the relationship that Brazilians have with Michael Jackson. I feel like maybe other people knew about this, but I didn't. We're like in this area, all these beautiful houses, and then I see this poster of Michael Jackson just like randomly. And the guide started telling us about how, like, you know, during his They Don't Really Care About Us song and video, he came to Brazil and like all the Brazilians like swarmed him, and like they were all in his video. He came to this area and like they just love Michael Jackson. And I'm like, of course, iconic. We just love to see it. Then we went into a couple of churches. We didn't get to stay too long. And of course, every building that you walk past, you see these like really small windows at the bottom, which those were the windows of the enslaved individuals. After that somber time, we went to Zanzibar restaurant, which was amazing. We had heard a lot about the food here. Of course, these are caipirinhas. That's all we were drinking here, at least me, of course. But the food was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Tomorrow we'll know more about these two here.
Okay, it's day 3 of programming. All of the like sit down lecturing programming is done. Now it's time for us to get to the excursion, which is really just like a very cool lunch and some activities included. So this is like one of the more hectic days. It's like midway through the retreat and we are joining 2 groups together, and we got invited to Casa Encantos, but like the private home of the chef or the owner. So yeah. quick, aside from this beautiful lunch, we also did some drumming and some samba, two very critical elements of like Brazilian culture where women have a major hand in it. So our drumming experience was done by Yaya Muxima, this really dope percussions group in Brazil that is made up of all women. We literally, it was so cool. Boom, boom. Twice. Yeah, this was probably the best day for me. Everybody was just vibing at the end. It was beautiful. Then we went home and we had a change and head to Shasta, which was this really dope experience with this chef Paloma Zaire. I loved her, okay? She was like so cool and just vocal about being like a queer black woman in Brazil and, you know, what food means to her and the historical context of the food coming from Africa and like keeping it ingrained in like the traditions and the recipes of today. And then I had to give a speech. Don't listen. You and your culture and your history and this lovely food that you prepared for us. So we will raise our glasses as we will and say thank you to Chef Paloma. Thank you. So it is Thursday. It is the final day of like programming and sessions and workshops. So we didn't do anything but that all day. So this is literally all I'm going to show you guys from that. Then we ended up going to dinner at this very popular bistro called Negrivos. The food was pretty good, and I think for me what was really cool here is that the food that they served us, you could see like the clear West African influence, and a lot of the people in our group who were from West Africa were just like having the time of their lives. But they also were having some like employee shortages, so it was kind of like crazy for such a big group, but they survived us and they took care of us, so we were very happy. Okay, Friday, the day of the conference where we've brought together all these black women from around the world on our side, but then all of these black women who are Brazilian, leaders across different sectors to come and like fellowship for this summit. And it was insane. And of course we have Yaya Maxima opening the summit for us as well.
De sonhar, inclusive com liberdade, ou mesmo de se imaginar vivendo uma.
Happy to be here. We're all very excited for today's summit. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is JazzyJetsets, and I am the Director of Operations for Be Well, which stands for Black Women in Guys, midway through the summit that I am organizing and working, I learned that my passport is ready. So I literally have to drop everything and go pick it up because they're like, if you get here by 1, we'll wait for you. Otherwise, we leaving. Crazy, but your girl got a passport. They like, you need to sign it right here. Do what you need to do. We need to see it. I had some paper to sign. Okay, like I was like, okay, it's Friday. My flight is tomorrow. Brazil said, you know what, baby? You don't need to stay here too much longer. You can go. You can head home. And I was very happy.
Great. I'm happy for you.
I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Hope your trip goes well.
Yeah. Jasmine? Oi. Absolutely no idea why oi came out of my mouth. I don't even know what that. Yeah. And then I was trying to get some footage and the driver was like, put put your phone back in this car. Don't get crazy. Apparently phone snatching is very like popular and similar as it is in South Africa, so I thought that was interesting. While the summit was going on, we snuck away across the street to a market, and then we also saw this sign, and so I was like, girl, we need to get some photos and pictures. Back to the summit, because I had a big hand in planning this and I'm so proud of myself. This was my favorite part. This is a double multilingual panel that is happening at the same time, happening simultaneously, and everyone in the crowd is wearing headphones. And so if someone is speaking in Portuguese, your headphone is translating it into English, and vice versa. If someone is speaking English and you speak Portuguese, that's what your headphones are translating it into. It was amazing. Afterwards, we had this beautiful party, and it was literally just Black women from around the world, Black women from different cultures just coming together, sharing the challenges of being executives, sharing their culture, dancing, letting their hair down, just like loving on each other. This was like so amazing for me. I have such a great love for Black women, so being able to work on this and work at this organization in general since April has really been a dream come true this year. I had to take a shot for my sister's birthday. We did that on FaceTime. This was our last dinner together. It was very, very good. And the final drink with our guide, who was amazing to us. Then it was Saturday, which was my day of departure, and of course I had to make my way to the mall because I didn't have any time to shop throughout the week like other people did. I feel like I found myself at this mall a couple of times though, even though I didn't get to really shop, so it's totally fine. Great mall. So saying goodbye to Brazil, the main thing I was thinking about is this emergency passport, whether or not it's gonna work fine for me, and what the hoops are gonna look like if I need to jump through any whenever I get back to the States. But luckily for me, I did not. They saw the purple passport and they were like, you come over here. And then they took me into this room where obviously you're not supposed to be recording. Once I read those signs, of course I put my phone down, and yeah, I just sat there for about 5 minutes. They called me up. It was fine. They were like, dang, they got you for your passport. I was like, yeah. And they were like, yeah, okay, cool. Here you go. So everything turned out fine. The actual trip itself was a major success. I was able to come back into my home country, even though my passport was stolen, and I'll miss it forever. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. And I also just want to say thank you all so much for your patience and for rocking with me. I know that I've been MIA for months, but this job has been kicking my arse. And so I just wanted to show y'all what kept me away from y'all for so long. But I'm so happy I'm back in South Africa. I have so much content to share with you guys. So literally it's coming. Don't you worry. Of course, I had to get some magnolias, banana pudding on my way home. And then this is actually me applying for my like permanent passport. I ended up paying like an express fee, but I didn't have to, and it came like just fine. And yeah, I'm back in SA now. See you next video.